Hi there, you're watching Time Warner Cable's local edition, the Sacramento Report. I'm Jaime Garza, and with me today is board member George Runner with the Board of Equalization. Always good to have you here, George.
Thank you, Jaime. Good to be with you.
We've been talking a lot about the budget lately. You've had a chance to look at it. What do you think of it?
Well, you know, the thing that concerns me about the budget right now that's being proposed is that it really goes back to taxpayers and asks them for that additional time on the tax increase that was promised to them to be just a short time, and now this budget goes and asks them for another 5 years on that. And unfortunately, that's typical. You know, all these short time, let us just tax you for a little bit and then it'll go away scenarios always seem to just keep creeping on forever. And
we've heard about them for decades.
Well, you know, people were promised. You know, when the legislature went ahead and did this tax increase. Two things happened. Number one, they said this was just transition. This will help us then get things under control. And then remember the tax. And then also they went back to the people and said, now we would like you to go ahead and extend these a little longer. Well, the people turned that down. And unfortunately, during the same time, when these new revenues were coming up to the legislature and the governor increased, they didn't take hard enough looks at what it is that they need to do to cut back government. And now we find ourselves in basically the same place. And I think the thing that I keep looking at, and that is the fact is that what we need to do is we have to grow our way out of this problem. We need to get Californians back to work. To me, that's the core issue. Right now, California has the second highest unemployment rate in the nation, you know, way over 12% now. And we've got to get people back to work. When people are working, we have plenty of tax revenue.
What do we do, though? How do we get people working? And you know, is there something within the state that we can do to change?
Well, the last thing we want to do is increase their taxes.
Right.
And that's unfortunately what this plan is. You know, one of the startling things that we looked at was that since the tax increase went into effect, almost 2 years ago now, we have lost over 500,000 jobs. So to think that somehow keeping those taxes coming on are going to somehow win back jobs is just thinking that doesn't make any sense. We need to make sure that people are keeping their money in their pocket, then they're going out and spending it. The other issue we need to do is we need to look at employers and see what they need. The employers that I'm talking to, the small business people, they're saying, hey, give us a break on some of that regulatory stuff right now. Go ahead and give us some flexibility on some of the bills that have been passed over the last 4 or 5 years that, you know, as I talked to a hardware dealer in one of my high desert communities, said, you know, California is the only little state that passed a law that changed the lead content in brass. And so I was stuck with I was stuck with plumbing fixtures worth $100,000, and I had nobody to get them to. And so I had to eat it. And as a result of that, he closed 2 of his stores, laid off 20 employees. Those are the kinds of things we've got to just lay off of. California can't be doing its own thing, making it tough for employers or just trying to keep their head above water.
And what about a hiring freeze within all state departments?
Well, again, the governor just went ahead and announced a hiring freeze in all state departments. I was in the legislature for long enough to realize, and especially through the last governor's time, hiring freezes doesn't seem necessarily to shrink government employees. The strange thing is that since the recession that we've had here in California, state employees have increased by 1,200. That's incredible to me. How can we have this recession going on for the last 4 years and yet have 1,200 more state employees? At the same time, we're losing, 500,000 in just the last 2 years of private sector jobs. You know, we have to be smarter. We have to figure out not only how to just say we're going to do a freeze, but we need to look at whole government operations to decide what we don't need to do right now.
Difficult times ahead. George Runner, always a pleasure, the Board of Equalization.
Thank you.
And thank you at home for watching Time Warner Cable's local edition, the Sacramento Report. And remember that you can always find this interview and others by simply going to My Government on Demand.